let him use you. Honestly. No, I'm gonna need some water. Let me get some. Alrighty. Hey y'all. So before I start this video, I want to say that anyone can watch it. However, if your ancestors were colonizers, and I said colonizers, not white people, I'm not really including like Scandinavians and shit like that. If your ancestry is 100% colonizers, everything I'm talking about here today and further on when I talk about ancestry and ancestors and whatever does not concern colonizers, ancestors. So that being said, let's start. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're not just you. You're your ancestors' dreams, you're your ancestors' pain. You're the echo of people who made a way when there was no way. And they've been around. Light your J, get yourself some tea, whatever you want. So when we say our ancestors live in us, it's not just a quote, it's actually literal. So we know that memory and trauma passes on generations and generations and generations. And there's things that you might think you've integrated that are actually not your own beliefs even. There's trauma that you think you have that had nothing to do with you in the first place. I don't know if y'all ever heard that story of that guy. I think he was a guy. It was like waking up at this super specific hour in the middle of the night, freezing and everything. And then he learned like years later that someone in his family before he was born died, like freezing to death, struggling to stay awake. And it's like things will get passed on and passed on and passed on. Spiritual inheritance is something we need to pay more attention to, whether it's dreams, intuition, fears that aren't yours. It can be a whole lot of things. There are habits I've had to break that weren't even mine. There will be things and belief of yours you need to decode and break down that aren't even yours in the first place. We are, as children, the sum of what everything is and everyone is putting into us. And when we were born, we were already a mix of everything that has happened before. The thing we see the most, physical inheritance. So your facial features. You can obviously inherit facial features from your ancestors. However, not everyone from the same people has the same features. But you know that, of course. You can also inherit illnesses. You know that when you go to the doctor, I don't really go, but if you go to the doctor because you have a problem with your heart, the first thing they're gonna ask you is, does anyone in your family have heart problems? Most likely. And most likely the answer is yes. Same thing goes with cancer. It's like some illnesses, if you have it, most likely you're not the first one in your lineage to have it. It doesn't have to be all negative though. You also can inherit talents. I know my grandmother was a dancer at the ballet, and my mother and her sister danced as well. I know like dance is a thing in I didn't do classical dance, but I love to dance also. I'm just not leaning towards the same thing, but my mom kind of drifted away from classical. I know it's something I get from them. Could be intuition, could be gifts, it could be passions. Bonding with elders around a passion that you have is some of the most wholesome things you can ever do. You need to recognize that everything in you is not just you. You have no ideas how many people loved each other, how many people hated each other, how many people were sad, how many people thrived, how many people struggled for you to be right where you are right now, looking the way you look. I saw this quote on TikTok the other day that says, your face is like the product of I don't know how many people loving each other. Maybe we still have to acknowledge that if you come from colonized people in lineage, it wasn't maybe all love. All of this we're meant to recognize, we're meant to work through, and we're meant to pass down in the most fair and loving way we can. Healing yourself impacts your bloodline forward and backward. Everything you do when it comes to healing yourself before having your own children to pass down things on will be rewarded, will impact the line forward. And you also have to remember that if you want to have kids, if you want to continue your lineage, you also gonna have to mix DNA with someone to do it, and cross bloodlines. So that's a whole other subject, but you need to be conscious about that as well. And it also can impact it backwards, because when you heal something, sometimes it heals backwards as well. I remember this one time I was having this conversation with my mom, and it was a really hard conversation, and we kind of went at it not in a mean way, but in kind of a sad way. Generational trauma is like a huge thing. Several days later, we talked again, and we were like, you know what, it actually helps. And it helped her as well. And I know that a lot of the work I'm doing is healing things in my mother, the same way a lot of things she did in her life probably healed a lot of things in her mother as well, so on and so on and so on. But you need to choose differently. You cannot heal a cycle and a pattern that's been repeating itself by doing the same things over and over and over again. And we often say that growing up, you have the choice whether you keep going with the same cycles and the same patterns that your parents were on or your ancestors were on, or you can choose to do things differently. Now, this applies to people who were raised in, of course, not really healthy households. If you were raised in like the healthiest household with like great communication, great expression, and all of that, all the love in the world, don't take what I'm saying like you don't need to do things differently. If how things were done made you happy and made you learn things, you just need to continue evolving in that way. However, if you were raised in an environment that was not safe for you, whether it was physically, emotionally, sexually, whatever the fuck it was, you have to do things differently. If not for yourself, do it for them. Hundreds of people who had it exactly like that. And for your children, if you want to have any, or even for the people you want in your life that you actually want to set a good, healthy example for. As descendants, especially people who are descendants of oppressed people, we now have way more freedom and possibilities to do things for ourselves and to choose differently than they had. And that's a responsibility we need to take on, because we can't just have it and just do nothing with it, or like nothing that makes sense. And we need to do it consciously. It's like reflect on the cycles you're breaking right now. Whether it's silence, overgiving can be a thing as well. I've seen it a lot. Shame. Know the cycle you're breaking and break it, because you can. Shame, silence, and overgiving especially. We know exactly what brought that here, and let's just not feed into it anymore. We have tools. Now, we have they didn't have therapy. They didn't have therapy. All of y'all weird ass bitches talking about, no, but therapy doesn't work. I don't need therapy and da 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 da. Just go to therapy. Because if everyone around you is telling you you need therapy, you probably need therapy. And going to therapy doesn't mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily the problem. And it's like, no, I don't need therapy. I have faith. Can't you do both? Can't you go to therapy and have faith? Isn't that a thing? They didn't have safe places for a lot of them. We do. I mean, I'm in my living room right now, and I'm out here cussing people out. So I have freedom. Best believe I'm gonna use that to heal. I get to speak, I get to choose, I get to do, and I get to change, and I get to break cycles. And that is the most sacred thing that I've ever felt so far. And I'm so grateful for that. Honoring ancestors is my favorite part. The shadow work part is really not really fun and games, but it's necessary though. Now the fun part, I just love to do it. Honoring ancestors can be ancestors you know and ancestors you don't know. Keep talking about ancestors whose names weren't there, but the present still is. If you know the names of your ancestors or of some of them, that's really good. If you don't, you can still honor them. If you know of an ancestor, but you don't really know the name or you don't really know the story or whatever, you can still feel connected to people. It's still your bloodline, and you can still offer things, and you can still try to honor them. And it can be done through different things. Now, before you set up an altar and do offerings and pray to your ancestors because you need something, ask yourself how you carry yourself, how you treat others, and try to move every day like your ancestors would have. Visiting ancestral lands is a process, a heavy one, but it is really healing to some people. I know I've heard great stories about this. The desire even to visiting homeland or ancestral land is enough to tell you that you're doing something good and you're on the right path here. Now, we know that a lot of ancestral lands right now are either still colonized or in a bad place because of colonization. So I get that it's not easy necessarily to go visit. Keep it in your heart if you can. Keep the desire to, and keep that connection alive. You can feel connected through food, through herbs, through music. Food is a good way. Cooking in the way they used to cook, eating in a balanced way. That was how they used to balance food, if that makes any sense, but I'm sure it doesn't. Music, we know, is helpful to connect with anyone, with anything. I'm sorry about the luminosity, by the way. Singing to your ancestors, singing your faith. Singing your faith is sing your faith. Just sing it. Trust me on that. I don't want to explain any further. Thank me later. Dreams are something. You might have a lot of dreams, more or less, less most likely if you smoke. But pay attention, because the more you consciously open your mind and open your heart to whatever it is that they have to tell you, they will come to tell you. Ancestors are not just family, they're spiritual predecessors. You have a lot to learn. It's not only family members, they're family members who have actually ascended in the meantime. Like, we can already learn a lot from the knowledge they had when they were here on earth. But can you imagine all the knowledge they have now that they've been in this realm for so long before we came here? We have so much to learn about culture. We have so much to learn about the collective. I think we need to get on that for real. Sometimes I light candles for people I've never met, but my spirit knows them. Some of our ancestors died enslaved and nameless. Some of them were warriors. Some of them were witches or whatever you want to call it. They couldn't say it out loud. I will carry them all of them. I will leave space in my heart for every single talent, every single food, every single emotion, and every single thought they want to send me. Forever. Your ancestors can come to you in many ways, shape, or form, and I don't want to elaborate too much on this because I don't want y'all to think that ancestors can only come through in one specific way, because this is not the case. And the symbols in which you can recognize your ancestors differ between cultures and between like personal beliefs even. I was talking the other day with this friend of mine. She has Asian roots mostly. The way she perceives signs from her ancestors and the way they show up to her, the way they come through, is not the same at all than the way my ancestors do for me. Whether it's smells, synchronicities, dreams, whatever it is. If you ever felt something watching over you, it was watching over you. Living for them now in our world can be a bit confusing because it's like, what can I really do that they used to do though? You don't only have to do things that they used to do. Do things that they used to not be able to do. Set boundaries, speak up for yourself, slap a bitch across the face if she plays with you too much. Maybe don't do that. No, but for real though, like set clear boundaries with people. Be aware of beauty. You need to live for beauty. Beauty has no standards. I don't want to hear that bullshit. I want you to see beauty in everything. I want you to see beauty in rivers, in sunsets, in the rain, in a tornado. I want you to see beauty in the way you look, in the way you act, in the way people act with you. Take care of your body, whatever that looks like for you, but be healthy. Don't play too much with your health. Don't do hard drugs. You already know the drill. Make art central part of your life. Even if you're not a creative, which everyone is a creative, but if you don't feel that comfortable creating yet, or if you don't feel like creating is that much of your thing, consume. You don't have to, if you don't create art, consume art, but do one of the two at least every day. Consume art, consume movies, music, whatever. Stay in silence with yourself. Don't always seek people's presence or company. You have a lot to discover about yourself on your own and in silence. Laugh your ass off. Laugh out loud. The craziest laugh ever if you want. Laugh when you feel like you want to laugh. Trust me, what you feel when you can laugh out loud, rest. Rest. That is a thing. Rest. Rest, especially if your ancestors couldn't. You don't need to perform your ancestry. You don't need to, like, you don't need, when you go outside, people are not going to say, oh, she comes from that lineage. That's not about it. You need to honor it more than you perform it and witness it. You're not here to recreate their pain. You're here to embody their freedom. To wear gold if you want to laugh loudly, to fall in love and mean it, to rest, to do whatever the fuck you want to do, to create, to leave when you want to leave. You're not starting from scratch. You're never starting from scratch. You're just starting from whatever they left to you. You feel like it's scratch because it wasn't your life and you're just being born and now you have to pick up on it, but it's not from scratch. I hope that your ancestors' wisdom will continue to live through you, and may their joy rest in peace with your softness. I think I said pretty much everything I wanted to say. Y'all stay safe, you stay blessed, be kind, have a good heart, have fun. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!